Hi everyone, I'm Deb Lees, and I'm trying to move forward with a project that I feel quite passionate about, and that's the Dragon Slayers Club. And I wanted to give a bit more information about how we came to formulate this project and what it actually means and why it means so much to me. So I'm sure you all know by now that I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I specialise in trauma surgery, and my main interest is spine, and it's quite a high pressured area. There's not many women that do this. In fact, there's only one other woman that I know of that's working in Australia that's orthopedic trained and not a neurosurgeon, and there's very few of us that were working in the UK. And on various conversations, there's been multiple levels in terms of why the Dragon Slayers Club came about. And the first and primary reason was that, you know, as a female surgeon, you're a bit of a rare animal within the surgical environment, and that makes you stand out, and it makes you stand out as someone to be watched, and that's not necessarily in a good term. So sometimes you can be watched with people looking to bring you down, and you can also be watched with people wanting to support you and give you that hand up. And I really feel strongly that as a female who's come through this process, it's really important to look after the generations that are coming below us and to show them the way forwards, help them deal with some of the challenges that have taken us sometimes by surprise, sometimes we've been prepared for them, but certainly, you know, mentor these ladies through and show them that it's possible to succeed. And it is possible if you want to have a family and combine that with other passions, that it's entirely possible. So speaking to some other friends, they were very interested in surgery as a career, and a lot of the general public are fascinated, absolutely fascinated with what goes on in hospital and what goes on with training. And a lot of it is shrouded in this mystery in terms of you have to be this particularly clever person, you have to be particularly driven, and I hold forth that that's not actually the case. And what you do need to be is you need to be a highly organized person, and you need to be a very focused person, and you need to be someone who has the stamina to actually get through the time, do the hours, and put the practice in. But I don't think you have to be particularly clever. But a lot of the general public don't really see what happens behind the scenes, and it's very common that a lot of us within the field put forward our professional faces. People meet us in clinic, we're dressed nicely, we talk in a very professional manner, we're there in a very professional reason. We're there to consult with them, deal with their issues, and it's not really a place that we divulge some of our history and some of our background. And people are very curious, particularly the public. So this book is a way to actually show them a bit behind the scenes, a bit about the decision making, and to really bring home the fact that although we work in these very responsible jobs, we are actually very much human behind that. We have worries, we have concerns, we have families at home. Sometimes our kids are sick, sometimes our relationships are not in a good place, and yet we still make the commitment to come into work and to deal with other people's problems, which sometimes can be an escape from ours, and sometimes we can take on other people's agonies and join their journeys and actually walk that path with them, which can be quite emotionally, unstable for us as well as people. And I think this combines to a very interesting journey in terms of how we find ourselves doing what we're doing. And traditionally, you came from a very well-to-do background, you had a lot of support, and more with modern times, this isn't the way that women find themselves taking on that surgical journey. And this book is about explaining how all of us come from very different backgrounds, very different paths, and yet we've all made it work for us, despite the challenges. And certainly, a lot of the female colleagues that I haven't walked a straightforward path at all. It's been quite a convoluted journey of challenges and things to overcome, and it's been hard, for a lot of us. But it has been possible because we're here, we're finished, we're here, and we're doing what we love. And even for some of us continuing on that journey, it remains quite a hard journey. And particularly for myself, I've got a family, I've got kids, and it's difficult to find that balance. It's also difficult to not bring a lot of the energy home, a lot of the stress home, a lot of my worries home. And one of my husband's favorites is that, I walk around and say, no, don't do that. Kids on trampolines break their elbows, it all ends up in tears. And you know, it's interesting to let the public know how, you know, we learn these lessons at work. We are very much aware of some of the challenges that our families and friends are going to face, and what that means in terms of them coming into hospital, and the longevity that goes along with that in terms of some high-risk procedures, the way some of the hospitals work, the on-call arrangements, who gets to operate on them, how that decision's made. And the public are very, very interested in terms of what happens behind the scenes. And part of that comes from the fact that there's been lots of TV dramas that have very much glamorized the medical process, particularly the surgical career pathways. And I think it would be good to give a very good dose of reality in terms of the fact that we are not idols. You know, we are human beings, we make mistakes, we have feelings, and the fact that we come from different backgrounds means that we can actually relate to a lot of the people sitting in our consultation rooms. And for example, I had a lady, you know, not be very rude to me, but sort of be very dismissive of the fact that, you know, she had children, she was struggling. And I said to her, you know, I understand. And that came from a very genuine place for me, and that I do understand. You know, I know what it's like to have a family and to have the worry about putting food on the table and trying to juggle, you know, all the things that you want to do with your kids and make them feel loved and be present there for your husband, because, you know, this is what your family deserves, but still balance that with a very demanding career and something that can very quickly become a mistress in terms of demanding your ultimate attention, and it's very easy to slide into that workaholic mode. And she really didn't get it. You know, she was kind of, oh, what would you know? You don't have children. And again, a lot of these assumptions coming through. And this is a way for us to really address the general public's perception of us as people. And in doing so, that also opens up a lot of professional career pathways. So one of the things I found, having been an author, is that the invitations to speak then explode to a certain extent. And what that means is that you get a huge amount of professional credibility, and that if there's ever someone who needs an opinion, needs a go-to person, you become that person. And what that does is really solidify you as an expert within your field. So not necessarily that you are the person who is, you know, the most proficient, or the person who works with the most volume, or the person who takes on the most extreme cases, but more that you are the person who has the knowledge, who can give a solid opinion, that also has a very good relationship with the public. And that translates very much directly into your practice, and that people feel comfortable approaching you, and they feel very comfortable having personal conversations with you, and that translates into a much better patient relationship where you can really embrace a lot of these people within your practice, and these people feel met. So it's a question of being able to address the needs that you become available, you're affable in that they know you, and that you're also someone that they feel is approachable, and that they feel that they're in good hands, all of which can only be good for your practice. The other thing is that by having speaking engagements and becoming this person who is approachable and who is knowledgeable in their particular sphere, is that you then develop a platform that is great for promoting your passion. And for me, it's about gender equality. It's about getting the recognition as a woman within a male-dominated environment, that we can actually then make strides forward, and we can encourage more women into this profession. Because I feel quite strongly as a woman, I don't have all the skills that my male colleagues have, but I bring a fresh element to my practice in terms of having that more of a social conscience in terms of how people feel about things, about being able to address some of their concerns, some of their expectations that sometimes my male colleagues don't even register is important. And often I find if you can meet people on that personal level, it makes a huge difference to their outcomes in terms of how they feel about going into surgery, the fact that you can address some of that anxiety, and you can also be a lot more perceptive in terms of some of the things that would concern them. So I truly feel that cements that down for you. And then in terms of being able to create a passion, this becomes something that, you know, it's a great way. If you can get on that bestseller list, You know, there's nothing better than seeing your name in print, and, you know, to walk into a shop and to see your book there with your name, knowing that you've contributed to that, and knowing that many, many, many people will read your story is powerful. You know, that's not something that many of us get an opportunity to actually do. And once you have that positioning, again, you become almost like a mentor. It's easy for people to see you as a real person. They know your story, and then they can actually feel that they have something in common with you as well. And if you are then interested in fostering that new generation and showing people what's possible and saying, you know, regardless of your background, you can make an attempt at this. I can't guarantee that you would be successful, but certainly having a good go at it is really important. And, you know, I truly believe that, you know, my father said to me that it's his job as a parent to provide the opportunities, and it's my job as a child or as a recipient of that opportunity to do the best that I can with it. And that's kind of what I feel this book is about. And this book is about opening that little window of opportunity, opening up that dream, showing someone who may think that doing medicine or surgery is not something that they're capable of, that it's out of their reach, that it's not something that they would reach for or even dream of. And I feel this book is very much about showing them that it's possible. For me, if I looked back 25 years, doing this job was just not even an option. It was something I dreamed about. It wasn't even on the agenda. And now I actually find that I look back and I think, you know, it was there. I just needed to believe that the opportunity was there, and when that opportunity came, to take it with both hands. And that's kind of what I feel this book would do, in that if there's someone out there, someone who feels that they want to follow a life passion, it might not be in surgery, it might not be in medicine, but it just gives the opportunity that says, don't close down your dreams because of your own limitations, and don't feel that your circumstances dictate where you actually end up. There are lots of things that you can do and small opportunities you can take that will essentially make that difference. And, you know, when people understand your background and understand that, you know, you didn't come from a wealthy background, you didn't come from parents who were happy to give you everything, where you come from a family where my brother had special needs, he had cerebral palsy, you know, it was tough. My mom was quite ill for a lot of it. We were reliant on my dad's single wage to actually get us through. And, you know, you look to the future, and when your parents turn around and say, I'm sorry, we can't afford to pay for you to go to university, it's, you know, it's a tough one to swallow. So having dreamed about being a doctor for many years, I really had to kind of say, you know, it's most probably not going to happen. And it has, despite all the odds. I find myself sitting in clinic now, you know, having achieved that dream. And if I can inspire one person to follow that dream, I would say that this book's been a success. So I invite you to join me on this and come along and share your passion. Let's get behind this project and inspire that next generation, because for me, I think that's going to be one of the most successful things I can say I've done. We'll see you soon.